In London, technology is the Silicon Roundabout. Introducing a new talk show dedicated to the people of the London technology startup scene. Silicon Real. Each week, interviewing entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, financial technology, accelerators, and incubators in an exciting three-person format. Learn about the people behind the innovation. Locally filmed, locally sourced. Silicon Real. It's about the people. This is Silicon Real, the weekly talk show dedicated to the people of the London technology startup scene. I'm Brian Rose. I also host another show called London Real. It's the same studio. We have some crazy people on the show like Tim Ferriss. We've had Neil deGrasse Tyson. This week we had a guy from Russia today, an Irish guy who came in from Moscow. He's their head of social media. So it's a little crazy over there. You can check that out at londonreal.tv. But today we're here to talk tech. My co-host is Colin Pyle, entrepreneur, coffee man. What's going on? You're scaling up.
Scaling up, yeah. Actually, I'm looking to hire some people. So if any sort of tech people want to get into the F&B, not you.
Oh, sorry. Are you implying I don't have a job?
No. Jesus. This is a real job.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll talk about that later.
We're growing real quick. So looking for some good people, digital marketing, stuff like that.
What's F&B?
So food and beverage.
Food and beverage.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah. I don't know why you know that. But all
right. So things are going good. Motorcycle got stolen this morning, which is really, really terrible.
Amazing.
But there is faith in humanity because my neighbors had a secret CCTV camera.
Okay.
They got the whole thing on footage.
Wow.
So you are going to get busted. It's just a matter of time.
Should we offer a reward, and anyone watching can tweet if they see your bike and you give them a cut or something? Or free coffee for a year or
there
something.
We go. LB11 MHV. It's a Triumph Bonneville T100 black with white stripes.
I can't believe you just did that. Okay, awesome. All right, well, thanks so much for being here. Appreciate it. Let's get on with the show. Our guest today is Emily Brooke, who is the founder of Blaze, which produces the Laserlight, which is an LED bike light with a laser that projects the symbol of a bicycle about 5 meters ahead of the cyclist to tackle the most common cause of cycling accidents, which is vehicles turning across an unseen bike. You guys raised, I think, £55,000 last year from Kickstarter.
Yep.
You've had some investments from Index Ventures and the Branson clan, I think around 300 grand. You studied physics at Oxford, product design at Brighton. You were the inaugural member of Entrepreneur First. We were just talking about Matt Clifford, who was here a couple months ago. I like that guy. Emily, welcome to Silicon Real.
Thank you very much. You did that very well. I'm also hiring, and if you want a role in marketing, you've got it.
Jesus, I feel like I should be hiring.
We are, actually.
You are,
but we don't pay.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Understood. I was actually riding my bike home from the studios here to where I live, just north of Regent Street, like about a week ago. And I made the ride, and, London's a fabulous city to ride a bike in just because it's so many things to see. But when I got home, I told my little girl and my girlfriend, I said, I'm not going to make this ride anymore because it just felt that if I did it every single day, it's just felt statistically unsafe. And I was just wondering if you could tell us what you think, Emily, is the state of the union of bike safety in London and what you guys are planning to do about it.
Well, you're right, and especially that ride to North of Regent Street, that's pretty grim. It's terrifying, and as we all saw just before Christmas, there was 9 fatalities in a fortnight in London alone, which is horrific.
All bicycle related.
All cycle fatalities. Nine fatalities
Jesus,
for bikes, and there's one day after another. It's horrific. And it's terrifying. Like, personal safety is the biggest barrier for people to cycle in the city. I mean, there's still 500,000 journeys made by bike in London every day. But again, you're right. The odds are against you. We've all had somebody immediately close to us or ourselves who've had an accident. You hear it happening every day. And it's the space. It's the war on the roads. It's being seen. As a cyclist, you have such a small footprint, and that's your challenge. You're just not seen. Drivers instinctively don't look for a bike. They look for a threat to themselves. They look for another vehicle, another bit of tonnage of metal coming at them. And a cyclist can be tucked over. While I was developing it, I was working with a driving psychologist, a chap whose life work is to analyse accidents for a living, which is pretty grim.
Wow.
But he has some really interesting insights, and one of them is the second most common cause is vehicles coming out of a side junction. and you hear it happening again, just as obviously frequently as the blind spot, but a car pulls out right into a bike. And that happens because a bike is coming, it could be right on top of you as you come out to the junction, but a driver looks, they scan, they take their split second to look. They don't look on the other side of the road, they don't look in the middle of the sky, they look in the middle of the oncoming lane, because that's where a car is. But a bike can be tucked over just that little bit further to the curb, right, which means he's right on top of you, but just not seen. And then you have the classic, the vehicle pulls out, and you get the, oh, sorry mate, I didn't see you. Well, thanks, I was right there. And an interesting, by the by, my company is actually incorporated Smidsy Limited, which is, sorry mate, I didn't see you, before I knew what to call it. And
it's hard to get mad at the drivers, because it's not like they mean poorly. They're just not paying attention, which can probably be on a statistical level of being even drunk. You know, they did some tests with like texting and driving, and it was worse than drunk driving. Right?
Yeah, texting, I've got no sympathy for people who are looking at a phone when they're driving, and that's just idiotic. But I do for the large vehicle drivers. You often see in London these exchanging places. You can go and sit in a cab of a big truck or a big bus, and it's bloody terrifying. If you sit there and you look around, you can have either yourself or somebody else walking up the inside with a bike. You just can't see them. And you can imagine, especially being a foreign truck driver coming into the capital, you're on the wrong side of the road, you haven't slept for a long time, you've got bikes just everywhere all around you. It's terrifying. And I feel bad for them too, but it's a very, very serious problem.
You know, you said that you worked with a psychologist for a while, and I know I think you were in design school when you came up with this idea, but you didn't just, the idea didn't just pop into your head. You actually researched it and spent some time riding around public transportation and everything.
Yeah, no, I left Oxford. Bizarrely, physics at Oxford wasn't much fun, and left to go and do design in Brighton, which was. And during my studies, I'd never been on a bike, but decided to cycle the length of the UK for charity. So I bought a bike, trained for 4 months with a girlfriend, and cycled the length of the UK. And fell in love with my bike, and here I am 2 years later with a bike company. But during the ride, I realised that the countryside was relaxing and gorgeous and beautiful, but the cities were damn right stressful and dangerous and exhausting. So I got off my bike the week the ride finished, had to start my final year and design a product from start to finish. And I wanted to find the biggest challenge for city cyclists and tackle it. So about 6 months of that year was spent working with a ton of other cyclists, working with the driving psychologist, working with the bus company and the council, being out on the roads myself, have a geeky helmet cam on my helmet and getting strange looks. That was basically footage of pedestrians being like, whoa, dude. But yeah, analysing kind of what accidents actually happen, deep diving into the statistics and seeing, the frequency of which accidents happen. I came back to start the year with a brilliant idea. I had it all sorted out. I'd done the ride and realised that all bikes needed brake lights. Obviously all bikes. Cars have got them. Why don't we have them?
Right.
I want the dude behind me to know I'm slowing down. Brake lights. We all need brake lights. So I went back to start my final year and running to my course leader's room. And I was like, Mr. Morris, I'm going to do brake lights for bikes. It's brilliant. He's like, well, I don't believe you. Well, hang on a minute. It's like, well, no. Is it really a problem? Go away, find a problem, research it, tell me what the biggest problem is, and then tackle it. And then come up with a solution. Don't start with a solution. I don't want to hear a solution. And he's completely right, because once I did the deep dive, I realised that actually such a small percentage of bikes are hit from behind. It's this side-sweeping blind spot incident. And there's one statistic I found, that 79% of bikes hit are going straight ahead and somebody else turns into them. And so that's what I wanted to tackle.
79%.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wouldn't have thought that. I guess no one does.
So the cyclist is just cruising along, going straight ahead, you're not at a junction, right. You're not making any movements, but it's somebody else who is, and they turn into you, just having simply not seen you in time.
So from that perspective, even like a horn or something wouldn't even work, because you're not aware that they're even making a move.
A horn is interesting though, because a horn kind of, it helps in the same way the Laserlight does. It'll help you be seen when you can't be seen.
Right.
So you can be lit up like a Christmas tree, have every bit of high-vis and light and flashing gadget you want, but ultimately if you're caught in that position where the driver ahead of you just can't see you, you can't be seen.
Right.
And a horn, at least, unless it's a very big vehicle and it's noisy and they can't, and a bell often can't be heard, at least that is somehow could help you be seen when you can't be seen, which is what the Laserlight tries to do.
When I hear about Blaze, and when Colin told me about you guys, like, you hear the story about you, and you weren't even riding a bike a few years ago, and then you get this idea, and now you're making this hardware product, you're flying to China, you're doing all this, and like, I'm sure people ask you, they're like,
who does this girl think she is? I mean, you're doing all these things for the first time, and I listened to an interview, and you're like, look, we're designing a product, we're mass manufacturing, we're doing this. We don't necessarily know all the answers, but we're going to try. I mean, where do you get that mentality from, that you're going to be able to solve the problem just as good as anyone else?
I've got absolutely no idea what I'm doing. I didn't when I started, but you just bloody well got to put yourself in a position to learn. Ask people. My number one mantra is to learn, to find people who do. Like whatever it is I'm trying to do, whether it's hiring or raise money or growing a brand or whatever, there's a ton of people out there who have done it and are infinitely more experienced than I am. So go and ask them. Go and borrow 5 minutes of someone's time and ask as many questions as you can. And just get on with it ultimately. Like, I don't know, like I feel really lucky. I'd never got on the corporate path. I mean, I started it. I was at Oxford reading physics, which was my path into the city, which was apparently what I wanted. And I'm really grateful I jumped off in time because so many of my friends didn't. And then it's, once you're out there just getting on with it, you just have no option but to keep on getting on with it and learning. Whereas if you're in a suit behind a desk for a couple of years, it's very hard to step away from that.
We're both ex-bankers, but we're going to let that one go.
You made the leap.
Yes, we did. Yeah, so look at us. So all right. So you just went ahead and went for it, basically. Yeah. So you went from this design. How do you get to a Kickstarter campaign last year?
So the design, I had the prototype at university because of my final year project. The press it generated straight away was the trigger to make me think, hang on, this needs to become a reality. This needs to be out there. Took me about a year to figure out that needed to be me to do that. I patented it at uni, and I was hoping to license it to somebody else, a manufacturer who's done it before. I certainly knew I didn't have that expertise.
What was the actual patent around?
The first one, so the one that was granted is projecting ahead of a two-wheeled vehicle for safety, broadly speaking. It's the concept. And
right.
that was really interesting because I did it myself. I got as much free legal advice as I could get my paws on,
sure.
and saw as many lawyers as I could, and got some help from the university and filed the patent myself. But from then on, it was me working with the attorney's office, with the patent patent company, and they were really helpful because instead of me just being an attorney pushing paperwork back and forth, it was an individual trying to get a product
right.
protected, and they were really helpful, and that helped get it pushed through. And then from that, we spun out more technical patents, which is on the internals and how it's put together and
right.
how it's manufactured.
And to Kickstarter last year, or even to starting the company? And
so that was finished. They got sent to America to Babson College on an entrepreneurial scholarship by Santander, which that opened my eyes up to entrepreneurship. So that was really interesting. To me, entrepreneurship. My stepfather is a very successful businessman, and to me, entrepreneurship meant kind of, I don't know, big cats getting bigger and big company. I don't know if it was just business in my mind. I never really thought about it. And the program was sponsored by Santander, and it was mainly Latin American countries. So guys from Brazil and Sao Paulo and all over the world. I was the only Brit, probably the only native English speaker. And to them, entrepreneurship just meant getting on with it, like starting a company because you didn't have a job to walk into. So a guy on my course was 22. He ran 3 companies. He had a T-shirt printing company. He ran a men's-only chain of beauty spas and a recycling waste roofing company. And he was a full-time student. And he did those 3 just to pay for his tuition. And he's like, so what? Like, someone's got to pay the bills. And that was really interesting that was, I think, a real kick up the arse to actually just get on with it. These guys are, why can't I? I mean, I've got so many more resources I'm so lucky, I could surely do this easier than they could. Why aren't I?
Okay.
So then came home and got accepted to Entrepreneur First. Matt
That
Clifford.
was 2012. Okay.
That was 2012.
And was that a no-brainer for you? Did you need some help? Did you need some mentoring?
I knew, yeah.
Because you could have gone other ways. You could have gone Wayra maybe, or other incubators, right?
I was brand new to the scene, knew nothing about tech, knew nothing about entrepreneurship, knew nothing about starting a company. Heard about Entrepreneur First, and it was just a no-brainer. I'd learn. I get some help to build a network, to start a company. So I was accepted to that, and then spent the summer. I came to the Roundabout. I helped run Silicon Roundabout in the early days, and that exposed me to the whole startup scene. Obviously, that was really awesome, and I'm still obviously connected to lots of those people. Those first 3 months sitting in campus when campus first opened.
Right.
But Entrepreneur First is very tech focused, so they're very much about building an online business. They support teams, so I had to have a co-founder. And not particularly supportive of hardware, understandably. And I was looking to build a tech company. So I had a co-founder, spent the summer trying to learn to code, trying rather than succeeding.
Was that a requirement, entrepreneur first, coding?
Not so much, but I wanted to learn. So like if I was going to be dealing with somebody that was the language they spoke, I wanted to at least understand the language, even if I wasn't very proficient in speaking it. So I did that, but was constantly letting him down because constantly going back to Blaze. So constantly meeting lawyers, constantly meeting designers, constantly ticking it over and just not being able to leave it alone. And then at the end of the summer, my bike got stolen. So this is like 2 weeks before the kickoff of Entrepreneur First, 2 weeks before boot camp. My bike got nicked, and it's the bike I'd bought to do the long ride, the bike I'd learned to ride on, the bike I've been riding ever since, the bike I loved. It completely irrationally broke my heart.
Wow.
I was just like, what on earth is wrong with me? Went to the police station, registered it, got home, was still in a mess. Went online and saw that a guy just been killed by an Olympic bus turning across him. It actually turned out to be Dan Harris from Moo. But at the time, obviously, didn't know that.
Wow.
And then that kind of was a double slap on the face of like, what the fuck am I doing? Look at me. Look how upset I am. This is what I care about. This is what I should be doing. Called my mum. It's now like midnight and said, Mum, I think I should be doing Blaze. Yes, darling, we know you should be doing Blaze. We have to wait for you to figure it out yourself. I was like, thanks.
And
so,
this is like a year later.
This is a year later, yeah.
Since you had the first idea and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was September 2012. Like, right, sod it. This is what I'm doing. Didn't know if Entrepreneur First would support me. Amazingly, they did, and incredibly grateful. So boot camp kicked off 2 weeks later. We did a Kickstarter 2 months after that.
Okay. Wow. And that was last year?
That was 2012, end of December,
Okay.
November, December 2012.
Okay. What was your Kickstarter experience like?
Busy. We made a video from shooting to edited to up on the website in 36 hours.
That's fast.
We wanted to get it out before Christmas, so we wanted to have it up live that month before Christmas. We managed to get it done in time and blasted it over to Kickstarter and like all sitting there ready for it to go. It was me and an intern, Will, my first hire, who's still with me. He's flipping awesome. But it was me and Will, and we're like super eager, ready to go, and got no response, and suddenly realised it's Thanksgiving in America, so nobody's in the office. It's not going to get approved for 3 days, and we had to start 4 days late. But Kickstarter was amazing. We were one of the first companies in the UK, so we launched in the UK the month Kickstarter launched.
Okay.
So our biggest challenge was educating the UK what the hell Kickstarter was. You can imagine my mum's generation being like, so I'm not going to get a product for potentially months. No. I'm not getting it in your company. No. Well, why would I give you money now? Like, well, it's Kickstarter.
Yeah. That's how it works.
It is a social phenomenon.
It's
like,
strange.
You need like kind of to know other people did it, and you need to feel like it's part of something that's socially acceptable. You can't just jump in and
It fits
cold.
much better with the American culture, I feel,
Yeah,
than the
that's
UK.
probably true too.
So,
I found that so much when I was running my Kickstarter campaign. Like one of my co-founders, she comes from Notting Hill, and she's got lots of, some fancy friends and stuff like this, and they just didn't understand the concept. It's like, what do you mean? I'm buying, I'm giving you money for coffee that I may or may not receive.
Yeah.
In X number of months' time. It's just like, this doesn't make sense to me.
It's so true.
Yeah, it's funny.
Because even like in the first couple of weeks of when Blaze first kind of became real, like after my exhibition at university, the cycling blogs picked it up. But it was just a concept. And the ones in America were very different from the ones here. The ones here are like, I think the British mentality can be at times just to say, but here's something awesome. And someone's like, yeah, but she hasn't done this. Or yeah, but like without any information. But the American's like, oh my God, that's awesome. Go girl. It's like, thank you.
I love it.
I'm trying.
It's a good accent.
It's not bad.
Yeah, that's good. So it was oversubscribed, the Kickstarter. You were shooting for 25. You got 55. Was that the beginning of all of everything for your company, for the publicity, for the money?
Yeah.
What was the most important thing?
Kickstarter was not for the money. It was for three reasons beyond the money, first and foremost. We would, obviously, it's the beginning of Entrepreneur First. We're having MVP and Lean Startup ranged at us from left, right, and centre. And to me, Kickstarter, being the only person in the cohort with a hardware offering, that's not true, one other. I wanted to get something out that I could test as soon as possible. And to me, Kickstarter was the perfect way to test your MVP before you actually put any money behind it or go and speak to manufacturers or go and speak to retailers. So I wanted to know, this crazy idea of strapping a laser to a bike and cycling around town, I wanted to know that other people thought this was actually a good idea. So proving the concept, it's invaluable for that. If you reach your target and you do well and people will actually pay money for this, that's invaluable. Then the feedback So our 782 backers are still unbelievably active and very much a part of Blaze right now. They are, it's more than one person's full-time job communicating with these guys on a daily basis. They're part of the company. The product has changed so much in the 12 months from them coming on board to it shipping into their hands. Things like straight away they stuck their hands up and said they wanted it to be USB charge. Fine, built it in, so designed it. But their feedback isn't completely invaluable. And the press, we were a tiny two-man startup, never done this before, straight out of university, and suddenly we're on the world stage, and we had retailers approaching us. So Evans, Halford Cycle Surgery, were emailing us. Kickstarter, it was an amazing experience.
Is that how you got the follow-on funding, primarily?
Nope. That was. Wasn't obviously people who think that they should be funding their company on Kickstarter.
Sure.
I'd be hesitant.
So you raised before then?
So did a very, very small angel round just after.
Okay.
Friends and family round, more because it was being offered from some incredibly fantastic people than me really thinking about it too strongly. But that was, so I still had that open, and then went to Founders. I was very lucky to get an invite to Founders Forum, where I was in the demo room, where you demo hardware, keeping the incredible people entertained. I'm standing there with my little Laserlight, and 1 minute I have Ashton Kutcher walk past, next minute it's Richard Branson, next minute it's Liam Casey, the next minute it's these incredible people. So Founders Forum was actually quite formative to this whole journey.
Right.
And that's where I met the Bransons. That's where I'd met Saul Klein of Index before, but I met him again there. Met Liam Casey, who's to PCH doing our supply chain. And I had the round still open from the angel round, and Index and Branson's both expressed interest, and I was very flattered but didn't have enough room in the round because of doing a tiny kind of angel round. So ended up calling the lawyers and saying, can we close the round that we have open and open up another one at this price to get these guys in? And then what the hell is going on? I was like, I don't know. But it's
high quality problem.
Yeah, very, very lucky. But it's fantastic because they're obviously it's a great advocate of what we're trying to do and a belief in what we're doing, and they're fantastic help and fantastic to work with them.
When did you ship your first products? So you closed the Kickstarter January last year, roughly?
Yeah.
Okay.
A year later.
A year later, okay.
A year later. And that was obviously late, but
okay.
That's, I'm still pretty proud of you.
Right.
There's, if you haven't come across Shop Locket. They do a wonderful series called Blueprint, which is hardware founders, and they do profiles of hardware founders and most of them have done crowdfunding, typically Kickstarter, and they've got this series of wonderful postcards and t-shirts and the kind of breaking news, a Kickstarter ships on time and all these kind of wonderful, but it's all true. Like all the first-time hardware entrepreneurs are unanimously optimistic.
Yeah, you were quoted, you said, getting the prototype to a mass manufactured product is the hard part, not the Kickstarter.
Definitely.
I was wondering if you could expand on that and tell us what your life's been like for the last 14 months or so.
Okay, so getting a prototype, it's not easy, but it's doable. It can be yourself in a workshop for a few weeks or months, or it can be getting a designer on board, or it can be getting some expertise, but you can get one of something in your hands that does what you want it to do. That's imaginable. The really hard part is then getting that one thing manufactured on a large scale.
How large are we talking?
So in the hundreds and thousands.
Of units, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, the biggest challenge, one of the biggest challenges for a first-time hardware startup is the working capital that demands. So you have to pay for this shit before you can sell it. Months before you actually get any money from it. And for a startup that's just trying to pay a couple of salaries, that's really, really hard. So that's an immediate challenge. The engineering expertise to actually get this thing to be able to manufacture at a price you can afford to manufacture on scale, where each component is so sensitive on cost, and your margins are completely it's make or break. Whether this, making one, it can cost £10,000 and you've got one, but then can you get it at a price you can do thousands of those and sell them for X? And the geographies is ultimately it's likely going to be not down the road. It's going to be the other side of the world. It's going to be in Asia. It's going to be using expertise from other continents. The manufacturing game for mass scale consumer offering, it's a learning curve like this.
Right, and it keeps all the suckers out, I'm guessing.
It's new as well. It's typically very large companies make hardware for very large companies. And now with the likes of Kickstarter, with the likes of VC investment, with the likes of individuals being able to think that they, idiotic enough, as you said earlier, to try and get, a product to many people, it's happening for the first time. And China's not quite ready for it, but we're trying to work it out.
And they're more ready than they were. I mean, could you have gone to China 5 years ago and asked them to do what you're asking them now from a small scale perspective or a small company perspective?
Yeah, I'm sure it would have been possible. There would have been endless heartbreak and headache, things going wrong. And I think the only way you could probably do it is to actually move out there. And have a presence on the ground and be able to go into factories on a daily basis, or have a big team out there. So I'm working with PCH.
They're a design company in the UK? No. What are they?
PCH, so they're founded by a crazy Irish entrepreneur called Liam Casey, who is possibly one of the most inspirational entrepreneurs I've ever met. He moved to China in '96 and started managing the supply chain for some big companies, and has since manages the supply chain for, I probably not allowed to say, but the biggest brands and
iPhones
consumer.
and things like that.
Hey, probably.
Okay, all right.
And ultimately, they're a supply chain management company, but they're now supporting smaller companies, hardware startups, to ship product and manufacture product. So they have an incubator, which is 4 months, based in San Francisco, which through that period, they get you to a prototype that you can raise money on or you can crowdfund. So I'd argue that's the easy part. But, right. That's a huge help. So you go out there, there's an amazing network they've got behind them. They take you to China for 2 weeks to see manufacturing happen. You learn a shit ton. You
didn't do this program, but they have that.
I missed that.
Okay, because you had already started.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the accelerator, where they basically have, I'm basically a baby client. I'm a client like all the others, but they support me helping manage my supply chain. The biggest thing that they offer is working capital. So they support my working capital. And I've got a team of varies between 5 and 10 in PCH in China who, they feel like Blaze. I flew out to China by myself to spend New Year's in a hotel by myself in China, basically to give Bob Wang, who's my project manager, a very large hug, because the guy had been amazing and had been fighting hard for us and trying to get the product sorted in time. But again, the model's not perfect. So factories in China want to deal in large numbers, low volume, low complexity, large volume products. So they want to be dealing, shipping out millions of very simple products that they can just repeat. Up comes a little kind of, upstart London hardware startup that wants to create X number of hundreds to start off with, incredibly complicated bike lights. Oh, and by the way, I'll change my mind every 10 seconds. I want to take that off the tool and change that pattern. Oh, by the way, we want to do that. I know that can be a bit cheaper. We are China's nightmare. So it's really hard. And PCH, they're used to working with very big companies with a lot of process and a lot of resource. So the information flow back and forth over this last year has been really tough, but there isn't a perfect answer. And we're trying to make one.
Sounds fascinating. You spent 65 days in China. You're a guy that deals with working capital issues.
Yep.
What do you see when you listen to Emily?
A nightmare. I had to deal with people in Europe primarily for the coffee side of things, but and in terms of complexity of coffee, it's a lot simpler than sort of what you were dealing with. And trying to ride around China, I understand the difficulties of just sort of the Chinese culture to think outside of the box a lot of the time. And so you're right, you go into, I visited a few manufacturing plants and they like things that have been done before and that, is a simple product that they know how to use or that they can see what it's for, whether it's, I went to one that they did shoes, right? So everything from golf shoes to football shoes to running shoes. And it's just that's what they did. So yeah, doing a small number of a really highly complex product is probably with minimum,
a waterproof
small
bike,
orders.
With a laser in it is
exactly.
What are you doing?
It sounds like an Austin Powers movie, right? With that, what is he?
And then along comes this crazy English CEO who's kind of like this emotional woman who's like,
right,
cares about her product way too much and comes and asks too many questions, and it's I think we're a bit of a shock.
I think it'd be hard to get them on the entrepreneurial train to be like, listen, you work with me now, and then this thing blows up, and we're great customers.
Yeah.
Is that a selling point for the Chinese when you deal with them, or is that a selling point with?
No.
Okay.
With PCH.
With PCH.
So PCH,
okay. Right.
PCH are backing me because they want me to one day be Apple.
They're millions of these.
They're bringing down the barriers of the very high barriers to a first-time hardware startup to enable you to grow.
I think that's a great incubator concept, though. And in this area, of course, you see incubators popping up every few weeks and not really adding a huge amount of value. But for that perspective, like, what a great investment from them to be like, listen, I can take a great idea, a great product, a great person or team, and launch them years.
It's amazing.
Faster than it would have taken.
It's challenging. It's really, really hard. But it's so because there are a few hardware specific accelerators out there.
Right.
There's Dragon. There's a few, but it's the steps after that, like I just said, which is the really hard part. This is actually, once you've got your thing, how do I make many of them? And they've got that bit that they're helping with, which.
And this is our first hardware company in 50 episodes, right? I mean, we've had everyone on here, but not a hardware startup that's actually...
Kano is kind of...
Yeah, I guess Kano. Okay.
Yeah,
all right. Maybe. Maybe a smaller scale. They got the Raspberry Pi backbone kind of thing.
So stuff that's already been developed.
How is the last year done? Where do you give yourself a rating on 1 to 10? I mean, how have you done? You delivered the product. How's been the feedback? And what's the next couple steps? I know you tell people, you're working on many products in the long run. So how are things?
The last part I'll come back to, because that might have recently changed. The first part has been the best part of this entire 2-year journey. So going from like a nuts idea at university to actually this thing being in many people's hands all around the world. Like, our customers are bizarrely spread literally in every corner of the world. And hearing their anecdotes of actually using the light for the first time, and the classics, which I just didn't think about before it happened, were the unboxing videos that start popping up online, 15-minute unboxing videos of people mounted head cameras and opening their Blaze box for the first time. It's like, what? This is crazy.
Videos.
Amazing.
And
is there a website for that? Unboxingvideos.com?
Unboxing videos. I'm sure there must be. It's a thing. I had not realised it's a thing.
I had not realised it was a thing.
There's a brilliant one where the guy's doing it, and he's got the head cam on. He's showing his hands. He's opening it up and he's talking about everything. And then there's a ping. He goes, "Oh, that's my chicken." He seems to go off and takes the chicken out of the dish of the microwave, and then comes back and back to the blaze light. But yeah, we sent out a customer survey. There was a quality issue with the first batch of brackets that, to me, was the end of the world and was a complete disaster shutdown. And it really obviously upset me, and we were trying to work out how serious the situation was. So the girls were like, right, well, let's send out a survey and ask the customers, what their thoughts are. Meanwhile, I just booked flights and took 3 of the team, so Matt, my designer, and Phil, my COO. The 3 of us went out to China for a week to go and sort it out. But meanwhile, this survey went out, a customer survey, and it had some pretty standard questions in it, looking for our NPS score, and some pretty standard benchmark questions that we could benchmark ourselves against other companies. And while we're in China, shit hit the fan, have these really hardcore, full-on meetings, and I was, really upset, and then it was a real kind of coming together after we hit rock bottom. Everyone, the team in China and us, were working out to get this sorted out and getting replacement brackets out to everybody, and fix the problem going forward, and blah blah blah. Then we get a Skype from the team in London, oh, by the way, and we've got the results from the customer survey. I said, oh, geez, guys, I'm not sure I can deal with that right now. No, I think you should. And then so we looked at the survey, and that was amazing. So hearing people, what their realization is of actually riding with the light at night on the city streets. People bloody love it. Trying to be humble. I love it. Obviously, I have a shit day, and I go downstairs and I put my light on my bike and I cycle home, and I'm grinning by the time I get home. And there's a funny thing, because a lot of the comments were how they've noticed people seeing them obviously more, and thumbs up from other cyclists and taxi drivers and bus drivers. And a few interesting insights that I hadn't thought of when I was designing it was they realised, a lot of people commented about how when drivers overtake them, they take longer to cut back in than they would otherwise. They'd wait till they've gone past the projection and then cut back in a few yards ahead, rather than just nipping straight in. And pedestrians, that is one we hear the whole time, and we experience most nights we cycle with it. I so often find somebody will see that before they see me and not step out, which is an immediate win.
Yeah, but pedestrians are dangerous.
Yeah.
They really are.
And other cyclists can be a little dangerous
Headphones
too.
in, phone out, just step out in front of a bike the whole time.
Yeah, and then they freeze sometimes, they don't move.
Oh, they see you and they get that rabbit.
Freeze.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a bike.
Yeah.
You're like, whoa, are you going to go left, are you going to go right? I'm just going to go straight into you.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there's a big part of it, which is it's a funny one, because the product was designed to solve an actual problem, a serious problem, cycling fatalities. And I did my very best to go some small way to tackle that. But when you actually put it on your bike, there's another element, which is it's just bloody good fun as well. You've got this green symbol travelling on the road in front of you, and all of our customers it's really fun. It's awesome.
Right.
A little love for that, which is a funny one because I don't think we can. I don't know, like we can market it as it. By the way, it's also really fun.
Yeah.
But
Do people get cheers from people like, "Yay, nice light," or blaze, or?
There's a funny time of night if it's pubs are emptying and you're cycling through and you've got your laser light in front and the people are like, "Whoa, what the hell's that?" You get a lot of comments.
All right, so you're getting some feedback you didn't expect from those people, and is that being incorporated into version 2.0, 3.0, and what's going on in your head as far as that? Is that the main priority right now?
Yeah. So there's also the laser light. So I had a recent kind of a complete about turn in my mind, if I'm honest. And this is very early stage, so this isn't set in stone, and we're just talking about it as a team. But we have a ton of other things that we are working on and other products that we want to bring out. There are so many problems for urban cyclists: locks, bike security, helmets. I mean, there's just endless, and you can add value pretty much any direction you want to look in. And we'd love to be doing that right now. But I had a mentoring session with through Albion, with Rich Reed of Innocent Smoothies and Nicholas from Skype and a few other really kick-ass people. And the question was asked, what's next? What products are coming from Blaze next? And I did my spiel about all these things that we are working on and really excited about. And he kind of said, "Nah, I disagree." I said, "Okay, why?" He said, "Well," Rich speaking from Innocent, when they started Innocent, there was another soft drinks company that launched at exactly the same time that he was obsessively tracking, and it was his hobby to watch their every move and see what they did. And they're now worth whatever it is, X factorial more than Innocent were when they sold to Coca-Cola. And that's Red Bull. And it's a one-product company. You look at GoPro, one-product company. We have a really awesome kick-ass launch product that, it's people are talking about it. It solves a problem. It's innovative. And now we've got the feedback from our early customers, and we really know it's not just us. We're not idiots. Other people do like it too. I'm kind of thinking, hang on a minute, we just got to execute this first and foremost. Like we have an awesome product. We need to make sure we get it right. We need to make sure we need to get it out there, selling and known around the world. And that's a big enough job for now than to try and get distracted and running off in every other direction and develop. We've got a tiny team. So at the moment, I'm kind of thinking actually to not put the brakes, but just to hold off and trying to run. I get overexcited and lots of things.
You?
I'm
That's a fantastic realization.
I
And
think
something
so.
we've heard
So?
before.
Heard so much that focus, right? Focus. And a lot of people, when you only have a few people on your team, to go out and develop another product and deal with that whole supply chain issue again.
And then market it and talk about it. And like the Laserlight, also, it's not intuitive. People need to see it for the first time. See it. You see it makes sense, but you need to. The first time you're introduced to it, you're like, "Whoa, what the hell?" And that's a marketing challenge in itself. We are doing a rear light. I can tell you that.
Okay.
Which is awesome, but it doesn't project.
Your brake light, finally.
Kind doesn't break.
Okay. But it's a rear light.
It's a rear light. It's a really beautiful.
Always braking.
Okay.
Always braking. Always braking. Yeah, they're lovely, kind of complementary, matches the front light. But the Laserlight is our flagship product, and I want to focus on that.
Okay. I mean, how many billion bikes are there in the world? I mean, you have a potentially huge market to penetrate.
Yeah.
So you could be spending a lot of time just, you could be spending years just getting people to know about the Blaze, and that.
Yeah.
It's a big market.
It's huge.
It's not
huge.
a very tiny niche that someone else is going after in same.
And it's growing. So Australia is really interesting to us because they've got the bike light season is very seasonal. So it's obviously during the winter when it's dark, that's when lights are sold. In Australia, it's obviously the opposite seasonality. They're booming. They've just turned 80% of the CBD into cycle lanes. And they take their cycle safety very, very seriously. They've got a compulsory helmet law.
Oh, wow.
And they spend a fortune on their bike kit. So Australia, for example, is really interesting. Tons of cities in Europe that cycle mad: Copenhagen, Amsterdam, Berlin, America, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle. There's some big places that we need to reach.
How are the Yanks treating you? How are you finding penetrating America for your product?
Well, bizarrely, 25% of our customers are from the States already, and we've done no marketing there. We've done no outreach to the States. But that's our next big step. That's, we need to tap into that and be known in the States and pick the kind of key retailers we want to talk to and get a presence over there ASAP. Okay.
And out of curiosity, is there fear of competition, or does the patent sort of cover you from that?
I don't waste my time thinking about it.
Yeah.
We have a patent. We have a couple. One's been granted. Other ones will be. Ultimately, if somebody wants to rip it off, they will. I mean, there's quite a few things in our favour in that if you type in projecting bike light, green bike light, laser light, anything, quite literally my face at the moment comes
Right,
up. Like the world knows that we started this. And an existing bike brand, the cycling industry is very loyal.
Sure.
You have your brands that you love and you stick to, and it's very vocal as well. It's a real community and very collaborative. And if, one of the big guys suddenly started bringing out Laserlights, I don't know,
Trying to cut you up.
certainly wouldn't sit quietly. And yeah, if it's in some bizarre territory far away that I haven't reached yet, and it's saving lives on the other side of the world,
So
shouldn't say to my investors to
big-
block your raise index.
it's a big pie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you want to sell, say, 10 million units like in the next couple of years, what do you need to do as a company? Do you need to raise another big chunk of money? Do you need to double your staff? Or is it not, or do you not need to, the way you've set things up?
I'd love to think we don't need to. I'd love to think we don't have to be a jawbone. We don't have to raise bazillions. I think our biggest challenge is getting the BOM down, if I'm being completely brutal. So getting the component prices cost down in China and getting the product cheap enough that we can afford distributors. So once we tap into the distributor market, so that's the level obviously beyond retailers, you go direct to distributors, then they have huge reach. And I think that will open up a ton of doors for us. And we're very nearly there. So that's pretty exciting.
Okay.
But that is, if we're talking just immediately increasing numbers of units sold, getting the BOM down and speaking to distributors.
How do you hire?
You need to be really bright and ride a bike.
To work for you.
Pretty much all I care about.
Okay. I mean, because you weren't doing this 2-3 years ago. You were in uni.
Yeah.
So, but I'm sure you found a way of doing things that works for you. You seem like that's what you do. So, is there any kind of thing, any knowledge that you've gained as far as attracting the right people?
Gut. I go on my gut. We've got a really young team. We're really junior. None of us have got any relevant experience to what we're doing, but we're figuring it out as we go. And ultimately, I don't think there's a particularly relevant experience for what we are doing because we don't know what we're doing yet. We're figuring it out. I was hiring a COO about 7 months ago. I wanted a grown-up. I wanted somebody who with experience that I could learn from, somebody who's been a big part of a small company, somebody who's built it and has a lot of experience in that, and I could learn a great deal from. I had some incredible applicants. We're hiring a marketing lead and an ops lead, and for some reason we had way more for the ops than we did the marketing. We had, for example, a guy that had built and sold 8 companies and had been a professional cyclist at some point. I ended up hiring somebody really junior. Ended up hiring somebody younger than me, who is just bloody bright and has completely complementary skill set to me. He was a consultant at Deloitte in operations, straight out of uni, and did that for 3 years and then came and joined us. And he has been smashing it out the park for the last 6 months. And I just feel incredibly, incredibly lucky. I've made him a co-founder and my COO, and he's a thought partner with me, and he's on board for all the strategy thinking and the planning, and I feel really, 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 really lucky to have found him. But that's the kind of way that I've kind of gone about it, is kind of finding young people who are willing to learn and get on with it.
Mm. You were in San Francisco 3 months ago or a few months ago, and you were speaking out there, I think, at a conference or something. Would you ever consider moving your company to San Francisco? And, here it goes. And why or why not?
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Here comes the hate.
No. So, I love America. I love, if I'm honest, I don't love London. I'm not a London girl.
Never have been, or?
I'm a country girl from the countryside.
Okay.
I find London quite daunting. I find it quite impersonal. I find it quite lonely. It can be quite a lonely place. I think everybody's so busy. I'm so busy that I bring my head up at the weekend and I've forgotten to make plans, and suddenly whereas everybody else has. And it's, I don't know, there are parts of London I love, so I love it up here. This has become my family, my community, my friends.
Shoreditch, Roundabout, okay.
Yeah. But it's, I've always got a thirst for other places, and I love traveling, and I love being in other places. I love America. I love San Francisco. I really wanted to move the company out there. They've got a very strong hardware scene, obviously a huge bike culture, better weather.
PCH is out there.
They've got the incubators based out there.
Okay.
And then my advisors and my board were like, oh, hang on a minute. We've got a really good presence here in the UK. You've got a ton of press. You've got a ton of,
Index and the Bransons. You can pretty much meet anyone you want to. And
we've achieved a lot in a year, an awful lot. And it'd be really daft to pack all that up and just move it to America. So it would probably be the next place I'd love to open an office, for sure. and I love it. But I'm not upping sticks and moving everybody there.
Okay. And does the tech scene feel different out there than it does here? And just what's been your experience between those two worlds?
So the tech scene, I've only spent fairly limited time out there. The tech scene out there is very tech. So you find yourself just talking about nothing else, and you'll be at drinks and just everyone's like, so-and-so raised this, they've had this, they've that, what their office is like, and so-and-so raised this, and they go on to this, and it's like, just, oh my God, can we talk about something else?
Right.
I couldn't deal with it.
It's unbelievable. And the hardware scene is not quite that, but it's more than we've got here. So that's, to me, exciting. And the London hardware, it's actually booming right now. It's really, really taking off. There's a bunch of us doing this. There's a bunch of us idiots trying to build product for consumers. So it's getting really exciting now, and it's beginning to be a bit of a community around it for the first time, and we're all talking to each other and sharing knowledge. So actually, it's going to be really exciting here as well.
What am I missing, Colin?
Yeah, outside of the Laserlight, what do you think? What other sort of innovation do you think could save lives on bikes?
Save lives on bikes. It's all going to be about being seen, building the awareness of the bike on city roads. And if it's not going to be at a consumer level, then it needs to be an infrastructure level. Cycle lanes and better signage and better infrastructure for cyclists, because in London it's just terrifying. There's just it's a bum fight out there.
You're happy with Google cars and all this sort of stuff, I guess?
Well, that would be, as long as they build in the tech for bikes straight away,
right.
So they have the tech to kind of spot a bike and let you know there's a bike in your blind spots.
They say they can.
Do they?
I think as long as it's not raining, they can see.
It's not raining.
Or snow.
So that's useless in London.
Yeah, but they are recognizing
I hadn't heard
bikes
the weather thing, really.
and bike patterns. But apparently if it snows or rains, everything goes out the window.
Really?
Yeah, for recognition and all that.
So if they could recognize the laser, it'd be probably easier for them.
That would be better, pick up a green laser.
There you go.
But so there's a bunch of concepts I was working on when I was developing it. There's about 10 that we took to kind of prototype stage, and there was a lot of them were kind of RFID or Bluetooth tagging between a bike or a device and a driver.
Right.
But ultimately, after speaking to bus drivers and vehicle drivers, they've got so much going on in their cab as it is.
Right.
They've got 6 mirrors to check. They've now got extra tech, and they've got GPS. They've got all these devices to look at and stuff. And you've had something else telling you, there's a bike. So, well, hang on a minute, where? Where am I supposed to be looking? And something else beeping at you, or more information to a driver. I don't think could be counter helpful, but there are some quite exciting concepts in that space.
It definitely needs to make some changes. Well, because I don't feel safe out there. So
no.
And I don't know. It's not about helmets. Maybe it's about better lanes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not quite sure. But
so one of the biggest reasons why I dislike biking sometimes. So I cycle all over the place, but is theft, right? So
yes.
Who's going to solve that problem?
So I think there's two angles to it. So we were working with a guy called Elliot Stock and looking at Bike Tracker, which is a device that basically tracks the bike once it's stolen. And so we were working on it for about 12 months and working with him on it. And it's a really exciting space. There's a ton of people looking at it, and a ton of people. There's Lock8, they've got letterpress. Yeah. There's a ton of people. Ultimately, just tackling it with tech, I don't think will work. For one, the tech's changing so quickly. Thieves will catch up and work out how to override it. All of the devices so far, if you wrap it in tinfoil, it doesn't work. So the thief just has to find it and wrap it in tinfoil. The expense of the product, so you're basically putting a mobile phone in the bike. The BOM is so high that it probably need a subscription model on top of that, right. If your bike's worth that much, you probably won't leave it on the street, you take it inside. I think, the best defense I'd come at it with is actually just a better lock, better materials, better innovation there. The D-lock has not been revisited for a very long time, and thieves are pretty good at breaking into one now.
Yeah.
So
it's funny. One of my really good friends works for Specialized, and cool. So he ran their CSR department for a long time. But now he looks at innovation in bike technology and how cities are changing and structure. He said one of the big problems with sort of the tracking is that there's actually not the infrastructure for people to go after all of the thieves.
Yeah.
So if you started having a process where you could actually track all the bikes that are stolen,
The police would be inundated.
yeah, the police would be spending full time, all their job going after bike
We had some
thieves.
meetings with the Cycle Task Force, which is the Metropolitan Police branch that deals with bike theft, and they were really supportive and said, "Yeah, give us any prototypes you've got. We'll test them. We'll come out with you at night. We'll put some bikes out there. We'll get stolen." It sounded really fun, but yeah, like we would have to rely on the support of the police chasing it up.
Which isn't really probably what we want the police
No,
chasing
you'll
up
get
anyway.
idiots going after their own bike and trying to get into a
Right, vigilante
state,
type
yeah.
stuff, and
Yeah, that's an issue we have to tackle. A few questions for you, Emily, before we wrap up.
Cool.
We ask everyone that comes here, so I'm going to hit you with them. If you can make a phone call to the 20-year-old Emily Brooke,
Yeah.
give that young lady a bit of advice.
Yeah.
What would you tell her to do?
You studying physics at the time?
I was about to say.
Okay.
Thinking about working in the city. That's what she was doing.
Probably wouldn't go to university. Probably get out there, get some life experience, go work.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, unless you want to become a doctor, unless you need the degree for the education and the stepping stones to get your vocation, so just get on with it. Especially, I mean, tons of friends who go and do my sister included, some bizarre degree in some bizarre university in the middle of nowhere, and they get drunk for 3 years and they come out and they haven't learned anything and they're in X number of thousands of pounds of debt. But you can have fun when you work. Why not? Well, you can still have a social life and you can still get drunk and you still grow up and find yourself and all that kind of crap. But just get on with it.
Okay.
I'm talking from a girl that spent 6 years studying
Right.
at 4 different universities. I kind of wish I got on with it sooner.
Emily Brooke says, don't go to school, kid. That's awesome. On that same note, what's the best advice you've ever received, let's say in the last 2 years while you've been doing business?
Best advice I've ever received. There are many ways to skin a rabbit. So my first year, I spent a lot of it terrified. A lot of it very scared I wasn't doing things right. Am I doing this the right way? Should I be doing it this way? Should I be doing it that way? Have I chosen the right way? Is this the right way? I'm not sure. Shit, have I done the right thing? Oh, I've made a mistake. There's so many ways to do it. Like, ultimately, there's never going to be the right way. You'll make a decision. I mean, now I run my business thinking on just the fact of make a decision, an informed decision on the information you've got available to you at the time, and then get on with it.
Right,
And
and
stick
learn
to that
from it.
decision and learn from it.
Right.
Yeah.
There's never going to be, don't panic and don't worry about, are you doing it the perfect way? Much more valuable to get on with it and learn than think about it.
Good. Last bit of that is to the 20-year-old that's listening to us, from around the world, who wants to be an entrepreneur like you. What should they do? What advice do you give them?
Find a problem. Find a problem that they really care about. Find a problem that's going to keep you up at night, that's going to get your brain thinking and get you out of bed in the morning. And don't start looking for the solution. Don't think of that really cool app you want to build. Don't think of that really cool product you want to make. Think of a problem you want to solve and then dedicate your life to solving it.
That is so crucial. I don't know. We've heard that so many times from people here, from John Collison of Stripe, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And that's what's great about the Kickstarter ultimately, is because you know that someone wants it, right? More than anything.
Yep.
Like you said, you didn't do it for the money. The press was great too, but it's proof of concept
proof
right
of
there.
concept.
To yourself even, that it's out
Should I
there.
dedicate my life to this?
Right. And as humans, we're really anecdotal, and we have these dreams and we have these visions of what we're going to create. But if it doesn't solve the problem, then it's never going to go anywhere.
Yeah, that's so important. So many people now, I find, just an app for the sake of an app. Or,
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
you have to say, and the best companies that we hear from and the best founders are always that passion and solving a problem, usually a problem that they, that they had.
Someone who gets emotional about her bike.
There we
so
go.
you should work on bikes. Emily, thanks so much for being here. It's a really cool story. It's a very unique story, but it's just one I hope you really kill and sell millions and millions of units.
Not, as a case maybe.
Okay. Well, no. Yeah, because then you have to film. If people want to contact you or apply for jobs or whatever, what's the best way?
Emily@blaze.cc.
Okay.
And where can you buy these things?
Blaze.cc.
And you can buy them now and have
Buy
them.
them right now. The next shipment is coming next week.
There we go. So they can get them in 2 weeks.
Okay.
I'm going out and buying one.
Yeah, I think I better buy one too.
Yeah.
Put our money where our mouths are. So.
Yeah.
Awesome, fantastic. If you're listening to us on iTunes, you can see our beautiful faces on our YouTube channel. Follow us at Silicon Reel. Hit us up with an email, hello@siliconreel.com. We got like 3 or 4 people working for us now.
Yeah,
right?
the interns are great, man. Yeah,
they're killing it.
two guys that are just fantastic, and
Hi, guys.
keep it coming. We aren't here without our people helping us out. So
Yeah, definitely. Episode 46, it's all good. As we say, it's about the people. What What a fantastic community. Emily, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
And all
Fun.
the best.
Thanks.
Thanks for the coffee.
You're welcome. All right, take care.
We had a lot of emails from people saying, when are you going to come and start Code Club in my country? And I was like, clearly not. I'm very busy. So, but we also had emails from people saying, when can I start Code Club in my country? And that's a lot more interesting. So I thought, well, as a team, we thought, how can we enable those people to run a Code Club organization in their own country, supporting their own local volunteers, hosting their own meetups, managing their own website, like registering volunteers, and do the same as we do here in the UK, but like, you know, in a more culturally sensitive way.